the question I heard quite frequently on the European continent and America was, will you find enough presidents who qualify? And I'm astonished that the question is still asked, same question here in Africa. We need to get out of that mood, that way of thinking. Unfortunately, there is a focus, the media are really focusing on our bad boys. If we have one or two or three or four bad boys, that is the focus. That's what we see day in and out on CNN and BBC and everywhere. Africa has 53 countries. Africa produced, not my words, Gordon Brown, the Prime Minister of UK. 2 months ago, he erected a statue, Britain erected a statue for Nelson Mandela in front of the House of Parliament. And Gordon Brown stood there to say, Africa produced the greatest leader of the world in the 20th century. The greatest leader in the 20th century is an African man. I think it's time for us Africans to feel a little bit proud. The problem is our good leaders, nobody knows about them. How many of you heard about Chissano before we announced his winning? I bet half of you don't know who Chissano is.
Welcome to Peace in Focus. President Joaquim Chissano has been described as a peacemaker, a revolutionary, a statesman, a democrat and a freedom fighter. Mr. Chissano's persistence and leadership culminated in signing the 1992 Rome General Peace Accords with the Mozambican National Resistance, RENAMO. That ended one of the longest and most devastating wars in Africa. Apart from initiating constitutional and economic reforms, Mr. Chissano voluntarily stepped down from power in 2004. Today, Mozambique's almost 21 million people, while still facing many hardships, enjoy a good degree of peace, an accomplishment which Mr. Chissano has said is a source of great pride for him. Achieving peace and economic recovery in Mozambique has profound implications for the future development of the entire southern African region. In 2002, Mr. Chissano helped launch the African Union, which is empowered in part to intervene in countries where atrocities are committed, and he later served as its chairperson. In 2006, Mr. Chissano was appointed the Special Envoy of the UN Secretary-General for LRA-affected areas, and he has since played an instrumental role in pushing forward peace talks between the government of Uganda and the Lord's Resistance Army, or LRA. In 2007, Mr. Chissano won the inaugural Ibrahim Prize for Achievement in African Leadership. Intended to be awarded annually, the largest prize in the world is worth $5 million over 10 years and then $200,000 a year for life thereafter. Our guest is the first democratically elected president of the Republic of Mozambique, His Excellency Joaquim Chissano. Thank you for joining Peace in Focus, and have a pleasant viewing.
Things seems to be very well organized, which means that we have had a good development in skills for organizing elections, and I feel proud that I can finish my mandate in these circumstances.
Joining Peace in Focus is His Excellency Mr. Joaquim Chissano, former President of Mozambique. Mr. Chissano, thank you very much for joining Peace in Focus. It's a pleasure to have you here with us, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mr. Chissano, first let me congratulate you on winning the Mo Ibrahim Prize for Achievement in African Leadership. Now, I'll ask you a question that you've probably heard several times. What are you going to do with the prize and the money that comes with it?
First of all, I'll try to do what those who gave me the money wanted me to do, is to try and to live better, an easier life with this money. But, well, concretely, this first year, I think in order to live better, I have to do away with my debts. I have to pay, to take this opportunity that now I have money to do away with my small debts, so that I proceed with my investments very calmly. And but in the future, I will try to multiply the money so that I also become a donor for charitable purposes. And of course, you know that the prize comprises two amounts. One, which is for me, which is $500,000 per year, and the other, which is $200,000. That one will go straight to the foundation, which deals with the peace development for the rural communities and the culture. So it will boost a bit the activities of the foundation. But as I said, in the future, even my part, when multiplied, will be a good support for the activities which I'm undertaking in the country and the benefit of my people.
You helped your country move from a situation of armed conflict to one of peace, and this was after 16 years of civil war that ended in 1992. Over 900,000 people died in fighting and from starvation, and 5 million civilians were displaced, and this is apart from those who got amputated by landmines. Now, I understand that conflict de-escalation takes time, since there are socio-psychological factors and litter that you need to clean up. How did you manage to do that?
I managed to do this through a thorough preparation for the peace process. We brought a dialogue to the hands of the people themselves. First of all, we had to agree with the people, leadership and the people, that peace is a must for our country. And the people had to allow us to enter into dialogue with the rebels. And after that, the people were part of the reconciliation, so they would agree to reintegrate amidst them the rebels in a spirit of reconciliation. So all this came about through a process of a long dialogue. 2 years prior to the dialogue, we had a long debate with the masses of the people through the whole country, and even interaction with the people who lived abroad, both those who were favorable to the rebels and those who were not. So we brought every people to play a role. We made use of several organizations of the civil society, particularly the churches of our country, and the other religions besides the Christian religions, the Muslims, and everybody took part. So this is how made peace to be sustainable after the agreement.
And this helped reshape the image of the other, from an enemy to a friend. or a neighbor?
Oh yes, yes, yes. All this was preceded by an institutional change. We have changed the constitution so that we open up to a multi-party democracy. And all those who wanted to create parties could do so. And so the rebel movement, which was not a party at that stage, became a party. We did everything so that they constitute themselves as a party which participated in the elections, and they are part of the parliament, and they are respected, and the dialogue goes on in the framework of the parliament of the country. But the other processes also for dialogue are arranged, for instance, with everybody participating, including the party with whom we fought. We have put up a vision for 20 years of governance, which leads us, whoever is in power. So we are trying to build consensus in the country about a vision for the future of our country.
Why did you decide to step down without seeking a third term in the elections of 2004, although the Constitution of Mozambique would have allowed that?
Well, first is that I thought that I had done enough of what I had to do, and that the conditions were right for me to step down. I would have not stepped down to leave a bad situation to my successor. I did all what I could in order to create the basis so that a successor could then move ahead and bring new things to build on top of a solid base. And this is what is happening. The other reasons that I wanted to leave while I have forces, have strength to do other, to undertake another type of living. So this is what I'm trying to do.
Mozambique has been cited as one of the World Bank's success stories, yet critics think that it has only been success on paper.
Well, you know, when I drive on the road, I have my bodyguard there. I normally chat with them.
Yes.
And so I say that to them that, look, I have a monument of myself. And we joke, and I say, where is the monument? I said, look at the road in front of you. Is it not beautiful? It's a road which is there, concrete things. And then I said, look at the side. You see this power line? Was it there 5 years ago? This road was there 5 years ago. I said, no. Look at these towers of cellular phones. Were they there 5 years ago? They were not there. And then you know that you have television here and there. These are my monuments. So in Mozambique, we don't speak about abstract things. We are speaking about a well of water, which used to be at 20 kilometers away from the people, but now it's 5 kilometers nearer. We speak about a road in the rural areas, and we speak about a clinic, a hospital. We speak about something which we can touch. So we speak about employment. We speak about small projects, but we speak also about big projects. We speak about new private sector of Mozambicans which did not exist before. Now we have some. That's why the people are saying, oh, now there are well-to-do people and poor people. Yes, of course, because there's a progress. In the past, no Mozambican owned a shop. Today, you have Mozambicans owning shops, owning hotels, which did not exist before. Of course, the poor are there, but those who are owning this were once poor, and what remains to do is to see how those who are today poor will become less poor. Actually, the program of the government, my government and the present government, deals with a question which is the eradication of poverty. We rarely utilize the word alleviation of poverty because poverty should not be alleviated, should be eradicated. And this is the aim, but we are not yet there. We are going there, maybe slowly, but we know what we are doing.
Under your 2 terms in office, Mozambique established a stable economy with robust growth and increased foreign direct investment. But let me ask you, why is your country still one of the poorest in the world?
Precisely because when you say poor, let's say the scale of a thermometer. If you say 0, you means the freezing zone of the water, isn't it? But if you say minus 5, minus 10, so we came from the minus, and maybe now we are at the 0. Of poverty, we are at the 0, so we have to go and climb. So it's a big effort to go from a negative position of minus 20 or minus 5 to 0. So we still have a lot to do. So we recognize, but if we look behind, we recognize that the success were tremendous, tremendous. We are not shy about it.
Between 2003 and 2006, the Near East accounted for 54% of global arms deliveries, most of them injected by the United States and Russia, who are the 2 permanent Security Council members and who should be shouldering the responsibility of bringing peace to the world. What do you think of that?
Well, it's a long program which we started even before Mozambique was independent. We were speaking about the disarmament, and sometimes people think about disarmament of big arms, big conventional arms, but in the world, what kills more are the small arms, which are fabricated by the developed countries. There are very few countries in Africa who produce arms. So we think that we have to continue to work towards disarmament. We have to implement the program about the small arms more effectively, because there's such a program in the framework of the United Nations. There are conferences. We have to convert this into reality. But above all, we have to speak about democratic relations internationally. We have to speak about share and solidarity, and not just to look at the interests of the big ones. We have suffered in the past of the Cold War, where Russia or Soviet Union and the United States would clash, or the West and the East would clash, at the cost of the poor people, the poor countries. Today we have a superpower, but still we have different interests. Today we have Europe versus the United States of America as interests. And we have to make sure that these big organizations start thinking about the fate of the poor countries.
Mr. Chissano, you're very much focused on the need to consolidate African identity. How can this be achieved?
We can do by promoting further our dialogue so that we know each other. We know our roots. We know what makes us to be one group, and to know what the differences are, and to take the values of these differences and interchange so that they strengthen that identity of ours. So I think that this is very important because today each one of us feel that we are Africans. Each one of us is proud of being an African. But sometimes we are not thinking as Africans because we don't know who we are. And so the dialogue is necessary so that we discover ourselves further and to discover why we are feeling that we are Africans. This is that identity which exists, but sometimes we don't know it.
You've been criticized for maintaining dialogue with Zimbabwe's President, Robert Mugabe. Now, is that along the lines of promoting dialogue in Africa?
I think that the bad thing is that to isolate Mugabe. I think that Mugabe, if people would have from the outset shown friendship and come towards him and talk to him, I think that we would have achieved a lot more than now. It's not justifiable that people cheers me up because I have talked with Mr. Njakama, the leader of Renamo, and now criticize me that because I talk well with Mugabe. It's a contradiction, a full contradiction. They have cheered us up when we signed the Komati Accord with the apartheid regime, with Peter Botha and Pete Botha. It's a contradiction if they feel that we should ostracize Mugabe. The people have cheered Mugabe himself when he admitted a dialogue with Ian Smith and gave him seats for free in parliament. It would be all contradictions. So I feel that I do well keeping good relations. I know that if I go to Mugabe and put an idea, he listens to me. And leave him to take his own decision, but at least he has got someone to whom he can listen. And I do this, I exchange ideas with him, and not only with Mugabe, with many other leaders who have been criticized by this and that. I have been exchanging ideas with them, and I'm not afraid of expressing my ideas with him, or even passing on messages of what other people, what perceptions of other people are. But you have to keep the dialogue open so that you achieve something later on.
Africa is changing and is on the move. Is it moving in the right direction?
Yes. Yes, you can see that the conflicts in Africa are decreasing. We no longer hear about coup d'etats in Africa. We can see that the democratic processes are being developed in every country. We see regular elections taking place in every country. Even in the most difficult situations like in Somalia, we can see some progress. We see efforts for the integration of Africa, economic and political integration. So we see in Africa, which is more prestigious, when you have the G8 inviting leaders of Africa to interact with them with respect, it means that there's a change. That means that Africa is conquering its place in the international arena. So there are many things which it's hard to enumerate all, which are signs of improvement, signs that we are on the good path.
Your Excellency, Mr. Joaquim Chissano, former President of Mozambique, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Mona Sewilam, Nile TV International, Egyptian television. Between 1990 and 2005, Africa lost approximately $300 billion through armed conflict. And that was equal to the amount of money Africa received in humanitarian aid from major donors in the same period. Would you ever consider a prize for bad governance?
In fact, I think the issue you've raised is a real issue. Not only is it a real issue, this continent has suffered quite a lot through conflicts, unnecessary conflicts that has taken place on this continent. Although things are improving, I think Mo did say that Africa is changing. In 1997, there were 41 armed conflicts, civil conflicts. Today, there are 31. Quite a lot of the conflicts which have been resolved were on the African continent, from Sierra Leone to Burundi, even Rwanda that went through that genocide is stabilized. You have a similar situation in Liberia, and Democratic Republic of Congo went through its first elections in 45 years. So things are happening. But there are serious issues of governance that we must tackle, and we hope this prize is highlighting the importance of governance, that it is a key factor if this continent is going to move forward. So in a way, we are on the same wavelength. Whatever method you use, if you go the positive route by rewarding excellence and good governance, or you go the other way, fingering bad governance, we are on the same wavelength.
Can I just want two remarks. President, in the citation for the prize, what the committee told us, I'm not a member of the committee, one of the reasons for choosing President Chissano, because he's a leader who has the moral courage to stop civil war in his country, to shake hands with his enemies, bring them into the democratic process in his country, and transform the country into democracy. So by honoring a man like that, I think we're exposing this. If you look at our index, which we produce, and I encourage everybody to visit our site, which is Mo Ibrahim Foundation.org. And it's in Arabic, in English, in French, in Swahili, and Portuguese. You will see that the countries which came at the bottom of the table, there's one common thing among them: all have internal conflicts.
Nothing is as important as ensuring the quality of governance and good leadership in Africa. An African leader is faced with major challenges. How to take his people out of poverty, how to deal with issues of educating many young people, sorting out conflicts, dealing with health issues, water, electricity. Their success is crucial. It's crucial for the lives of millions of people in Africa.
We need a leadership that will create a bond between those who lead and the people who have given their trust in elections.
Leadership is important everywhere, but especially so in Africa. The tasks facing leaders in Africa are challenging, and the lives and well-beings of many millions of people depend upon the performance of those leaders. It follows that we should strive to recognize and reward those successful leaders who are able to deliver tangible results for their citizens.
Our African continent is rich in the diversity of its people. It is rich in its resources, and it is rich in its potential. Our continent is beginning to fulfill this promise.
I am Mo Ibrahim. I'm a Nubian from Sudan, so I'm an African. I'm a businessman who was involved in building telecom infrastructure in Africa through Celtel, which was a success story. I think we proved the point that people can do clean business in Africa, help create jobs, create prosperity, build the infrastructure, and also can be profitable.
Good governance and democracy are central to Africa's development. Without them, it will be hard, if not impossible, for any African countries to reach the Millennium Development Goals by 2015. And that is why the mission of the Mo Ibrahim Foundation is so important. Thanks to Mo's vision, the foundation can contribute to the growing movement to build honest and enlightened African leadership.
Mo Ibrahim has established the Mo Ibrahim Foundation to develop criteria for good governance, stimulate a public debate, and challenge the continent's leaders to set the global benchmark on this issue.
We really want to support the African leadership, and we want to reward achievement. We want to celebrate success of African leadership. We are going to offer the largest prize in history, the largest prize in the world, for those successful leaders who manage really to take these people forward. Nothing is more important than that. And the important thing here is that we are African, and this is an African foundation. It is an African money. This is Africa doing its own business. It's time for us to really look back into Africa and do something ourselves. We cannot just sit there and expect the world to come and do things for us. And so it is in that context we are launching really our foundation.
It's wonderful that somebody of the caliber of Mo Ibrahim, a successful businessman, feels so strongly about Africa and about leadership in Africa.
I wish the foundation much success in its important work, and I thank Mo Ibrahim for the leadership that he is demonstrating, the prize for which will be one we can all share, a better and brighter future.
May your initiative inspire and celebrate the best of African leadership and equip future leaders with the knowledge and experience they will need.
Zifamba, zilova shikutsa, Chandwana,